The 2026-2027 Liga MX season is set to be an exciting year in Mexican football. And one reason why is because we are seeing Atlante, a historic club with over 100 years of history, including 3 Liga MX titles and 2 Conca Champions titles, make their much anticipated return to the first division in Mexico. However, their exciting return to Liga MX unfortunately comes at the expense of football fans in Mazatlán, as Atlante's return marks the end of a football club in Mexico that sadly joined Boavista and Domjale as one of the 3 notable clubs that unfortunately died during or by the end of the 2025-2026 club football season. Andres from AA Sports, welcome to the third and final part of this 3-video series covering the deaths of the 3 football teams that sadly dissolved during the 2025-2026 season. This third part took a while to come out and be uploaded with the FIFA World Cup this summer and all the videos and content covering that tournament, as well as the videos I was making covering the Mexico national team's games during the World Cup. But finally, part 3, the final part of this series, is here. So as always, if you enjoy the videos covering stories like this, along with news from across the sports world, leave a like and subscribe to support the channel and to help it grow. It will really mean a lot. With that, in this video, we'll be talking about the short life and quick death of FC Mazatlán. Now, as a Mexican football fan and Club America supporter, this one definitely hits close to home, as this was a club that dissolved from Mexican football, and FC Mazatlán is a rather interesting case in comparison to Boavista and Domjale, which I discussed in the first 2 parts of this series. And the reason why is because FC Mazatlán honestly should have never been created and established as a new team in the first place. Or maybe not ever created, but at least not created and established in the way that it was. And to understand this argument as to why some fans feel this club should have never been established like this in the first place, we have to understand how the club was founded and what led to its quick death. The club was founded in June 2020, and as we all know, 2020 was a dark and brutal time for everyone. From the pandemic to the 48 hours of darkness in California amid the West Coast literally being on fire, to protests worldwide against racial inequality and tyrannical governments, 2020 was a brutal and chaotic year. And a football club in Mexico was born in the midst of all of this. The club was founded when Grupo Salinas, the owner of the club, moved all their assets to Mazatlán and rebranded what was once Monarcas Morelia into FC Mazatlán, or Los Cañoneros, which was the new team's nickname. This came after Monarcas Morelia had several underwhelming seasons that resulted in them falling into the relegation battle at the bottom of the aggregate table. For those who don't know, Pro-Rel in Mexico was completely different in comparison to promotion and relegation in Europe. It was based on a 3-year coefficient table that averaged points per game. It was a weird format, and fans, while they didn't really like it, were still happy that there was promotion and relegation that made the Liga MX competitive in every game. However, there was one group of people that didn't like it and hated that promotion and relegation existed in the league. The club owners. Many of them greedy and in this case only care about the money and profits and not about the state of the team. Grupo Salinas knew that they wouldn't be able to just be lazy and collect all the money if the team they owned got relegated. So they found a shady loophole. In what I call the R&R loophole, by moving the club to a new city, relocating and rebranding, it made it to where their standing in this relegation coefficient table would restart from new and essentially guarantee that the club they owned, regardless, would be guaranteed 3 more years in the Liga MX without worrying about relegation because they're considered this new team, quote unquote. They basically did what the Oakland Raiders in the NFL and the Athletics in Major League Baseball did, where they relocated to a city in a new stadium, in their cases Las Vegas for the money and tourism revenue while not caring about actually building up a competitive team. And Grupo Salinas did this while completely betraying their loyal fans in Morelia who supported Monarcas, a club that, while they rebranded in the past, had always stayed in the city of Morelia and had over 80 years of history. It was a really greedy move by the owners. It was criticized by a lot of fans and sports journalists, and this is something worth noting and keeping in mind now amid the protests in the second division, amid the Liga MX executives' decision to permanently end Pro Rel, because FC Mazatlán and how the club was established by relocating all of Monarcas' main assets to Sinaloa and the new stadium there, relocation and rebranding, it really was the first red flag and blatant attempt by Liga MX executives and club owners to try to end promotion and relegation and create a closed franchise system like we see in the United States. Something that has been strongly opposed by fans, sports journalists, and football content creators in Mexico. So Grupo Salinas, they betray the loyal supporters of the team they own in Morelia to move to Mazatlán, so they can avoid relegation through a shady loophole of being this new franchise that will bring exciting first division football to Sinaloa, only for the ownership group to do the same greedy practices that the Raiders, Athletics, and Pirates are known for doing in the United States, which fans absolutely hate. They put the money and profits first, having a team in Mazatlán that would simply be enough to draw in fans, especially away fans for teams like Chivas, America, and Cruz Azul, who would buy tickets to see the game in Mazatlán, just pocketing the money while the team had little to no success. In the team's 6 years of existence, they only qualified for the Liga MX playoffs twice, barely qualifying both times and being eliminated immediately in the first round repechajes. Frankly, the only player who ever kept them in any sort of relevance at any point in their brief history was Cesar Huerta, who in his one season with the team scored the team's first ever goal, and his good play ended up being a positive stepping stone that allowed him to make the jump to Pumas Unam and then to Europe with Anderlecht. Outside of that, failure to make the playoffs and finishing bottom of the coefficient tables resulted in the team and ownership having to pay fines for their mediocre performances throughout the season instead of traditional promotion and relegation. These performance fines only made Grupo Salinas even more reluctant to invest more in the team given they were already losing money. And this all had a snowball effect where the team remained in the dumps and fans didn't want to go to the games to see the mediocrity. At this point, Mazatlán and the relocation of the team from Morelia to southern Sinaloa, it was failing. It was completely failing. Then came the death blow. You see, Mazatlán was not the only club in Liga MX that Grupo Salinas owned, as they are also owners of Club Puebla. This is something that should not be allowed as it raises questions about team collusion and conflict of interest among the owners, and potential concerns about owners prioritizing one club over the others, which was kind of the case here. Well, Liga MX has now changed this as it became mandated that club owners eliminate dual ownership of multiple clubs by summer 2027. And this forced prominent stakeholders to sell secondary franchises, or in this case, secondary clubs, as true fans like to call them. Not franchises, clubs. This led to Grupo Salinas choosing which club they would want to keep ownership of. And in this case, they chose Puebla. With this, Grupo Salinas divested from Mazatlán and put the assets of the team up for sale, which the owners of Atlante bought from Grupo Salinas to promote their team from the Liga Expansión, Mexico's second division, to the Liga MX. And while it is exciting to see Atlante make their return to the Liga MX, this came at the expense of Los Cañoneros as the team assets were relocated once again, this time away from Mazatlán and to Ciudad de Mexico for Atlante, while Mazatlán dissolved and no longer exists as a team in Fútbol Mexicano. And in this process, while they were struggling with attendance at games, the loyal fans that would show up for every game, the members of the Mazatlán Barra that would always be there with drums and waving the purple flags, were left feeling betrayed just like fans in Morelia. However, while Morelia still has a team in Atlético Morelia who currently play in La Liga Expansión, Mazatlán and its football fans were left abandoned without a team. This marked two cities, two football fan bases that Grupo Salinas turned their back on and betrayed as a Liga MX club owner. The life of Los Cañoneros de Mazatlán was short-lived, and their death was very quick. Arguably the quickest death to a football club we have seen in the modern era of the game. It was a chaotic and complicated mess that honestly should have never happened to begin with, but it did, sadly. All because of the ownership's attempt to avoid relegation, not because they love the game and want to see their team continuously playing in the top division, in the top level of Mexican football, but because they loved money. Colorful notes, pesos, dollars, whatever they are, which are soulless and have no heart in comparison to the fans they abandoned. And what made this worse is how this was the first red flag, the first blatant attempt in a disappointing step backwards for Mexican football, where the executives sought to end Pro-Rel for a franchise system that protects profit, as Mazatlán was established through the greedy motives of the team's ownership. While their cause of death was an attempt by Liga MX executives and club owners to try and create a franchise system where Atlante, a good team that definitely deserved a chance and returned to Liga MX, got their return not through meritocracy and promotion, but through money and buying a franchise. A controversial and unpopular system that has killed FC Mazatlán, left fans in the city heartbroken, and with Liga MX ending Pro-Rel, it has left teams in Liga Expansión outraged and protesting during games. Now, only time will tell if public pressure from fans and Liga Expansión teams will force the return of promotion and relegation for the better, and if the city of Mazatlán will get a team again in the future. Andres de AA Sports. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. That will be all for this 3-video series covering the deaths of the 3 notable football clubs which dissolved during or by the end of the 2025-2026 club football season. If you enjoyed the video series, leave a like and subscribe to support the channel and to help this sports passion project grow. And again, I would love to hear what you all think, so share your opinions in the comments, and I will see you all in the next one.